Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of WHF Talks, a special edition for COP26, and I am joined by Ms. Erika Mouynes, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Panama. Hello Ms. Mouynes, thanks for your time and it's a pleasure to welcome you here.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's wonderful to be here.
Let's get the conversation going. I'm very much excited to hear what you will say. Climate action, climate change, inequalities and poverty are the issues defining our age, unfortunately. And we are at COP26 with high potential, high hopes. What do you expect COP26 to achieve and what we should expect?
I think that we need to change the motto from getting to COP and committing and recommitting to accountability. I think that we need to start thinking of the COPs as a way to look back and make sure that we have delivered what we said we would. There needs to be a very short-term but very practical milestone schedule for what are we doing in January, February, March, in each of those in sort of like a milestone of delivery, because otherwise we'll be meeting and meeting with high ambition, high expectations, but then no real action. Panama, for once, I think that we were able to deliver. So we looked at a different, and Panama signed an alliance with Bhutan and Suriname. So the three countries, Panama, Bhutan, and Suriname, are the only countries in the planet that are carbon negative, meaning that based on our inventory, we emit less we emit less as a country than what our forests capture. So we have to think about it. When you hear about Paris Agreement or the targets or the 2030, some countries talking about 2050 or 2070, Panama has done it and has done it now, not 20, not 40 years. And when you look at Suriname, Bhutan, and Panama having different geographies, economies, the wealth of our citizens, everything different, the indigenous communities, yet we all, without international funds, without any commitment from anybody, we were able to deliver and actually with action show progress. I think that it's a call to action, but also the accountability aspect I think is important. I think we're interested in what will be the deliverable by March of next year or by September of next year.
Yeah, that's so true. And today it is the fifth day at COP26, which is the Youth Day, and we have seen youth activists taking the center stage in a way on the streets. And at the same time, there has been some sort of criticism around COP26 that women and young voices were not too much included in the negotiations. What are your thoughts on this?
I think that women are not included enough in anything at the COP. You see the pictures of leaders, and they're all men, all of them, or most of them are men. And you see the pictures of the cocktails, the pictures of the signatures. There was a wonderful study carried out recently on gender equality and environmentalism that surveyed, and among 130 countries, women were more likely to sign agreements on climate change than men. We tend to care, we tend to actually follow through with action. So, we represent 50% of the population, yet we're not properly represented at the table, at the leaders, at the negotiators, and the same goes for the youth. When you look at the surveys, the ones who are understanding that this is not some concern, this is urgent action that we need. The sense of urgency, it is the young population that's understood that, yet they're not the ones that are negotiating. And I know this firsthand because I think Panama has taken bold steps to not just go for the photo op, which I think most are doing when you bring a woman to the table for the photo op, or young participants that are invited, but yet they're not really negotiating. I think is concerning. I think that activism is absolutely crucial, but we need to make sure that beyond activism, that these young minds are actually the ones sitting at the table and negotiating. Panama has the youngest negotiating team at the COP. And being the youngest, I can also say that, or having the youngest delegation, that they've done extremely well. They're prepared, they know what they need to do, they're prepared to take action, bold action, which is what we need. We also have 60% of our negotiators are women. So I think the consistent themes that we are concerned, and I say this, I'm a Minister of Foreign Affairs, I'm a woman, I'm young, I've seen firsthand when you're disregarded, when you're not taken seriously, we have something to say that we want to say that it's
Exactly, that's why I wanted to ask this question to you, because you are a great example, one of the achievers and probably change makers, and you represent women empowerment and you represent young boys. So it is really a great pleasure to see someone like you in a position that you're holding at the moment. Actually, we have seen G20 last week, and we are now at COP26, and we have seen more than 100 world leaders coming together. As you mentioned, unfortunately, very few women leaders. But what would be your message to the world leaders? And as a minister, you're part of a government. What kind of actions should governments take further in order to fight with climate change and get the necessary outcomes from this COP26?
I think the first thing is a coherent policy. You can't come here and have a wonderful speech, but then your policy is not coherent with what you're saying. I think that is positive. To see that many world leaders here was certainly encouraging. I think that at least we're beyond the sort of the naysayers, the idea that climate change doesn't exist or is not affecting us. I think we've moved away from that, and we just need to turn on the TV and every other news is related to climate change. So it's good, but I don't think that the sense of urgency and the actions that we need to take are still being delivered. So that is concerning. And the message, I think, first with the sense of urgency, we've been trying. Panama is surrounded by oceans. We have one of the main waterways of the world and the main flag registry in the world. So this leadership in sort of the maritime world, we want to take it as an opportunity to lead. We were able to pass the protection of 30% of our oceans. And we are trying to carry the message, the 2030, that you protect 30% of your oceans by 2030. Very important. I don't think that we pay enough attention to the oceans as the largest carbon sink. 80% of the biodiversity is in fact in the water, in our oceans. We're destroying it. All the trash that we're throwing, the plastic, and again, the sense of awareness is not there, and we need to take action.
Yeah, that's certainly what we need to do. And most of the time it's thought that governments should take action, but really it's a collective action that we need to have. And we need to include non-state actors, including civil society and private sector in this conversation. So within that framework, what kind of a role do you think non-state actors should play in COP26?
Well, first there's a very important role of awareness. I think that the more awareness we have, that's why I think that the young population plays such a key role, because all the activists in the social media, they actually make it very good. And so it becomes more urgent for the leaders to actually take action. And second, as you clearly mentioned, it is something so important, and it is the crisis of our time, that not one single government and not only government can solve it. It is sort of a collective action. And a collective action that the true result will be for generations to come. And that's not easy, because we tend to think of only what is affecting us or what is affecting our children and not for generations. So I think that raising that awareness is so we end up sort of a little bit calling on each other, because it's important, and we've seen that it works. So in companies, when one company takes the lead, but it also showcases what others should be doing. I think that collective efforts, the same manner as governments. I am the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and I have as my number one priority diplomatic action. We need to make sure that other governments are doing the same. So the same aspect of the call to action on every level that we are is important.
That's amazing. Our theme here at COP26 is 5 Ps. People, planet, prosperity, peace and partnerships. Some people say it's too many Ps, but very important Ps, to be honest. What would be your thoughts around this? And because it's the framework that was used to define SDGs, and it's very crucial that we include all the aspects. So I would love to get your thoughts.
The pandemic showed us how interconnected we are, right? So what happened in one side of the world affected all of us. Now that we are focusing our attention on the climate change and how it's affecting us, poverty interlinked with people, so everything is connected, and if we fail to attend one aspect, then it's like a domino effect and affects all of the others. So when we're thinking about public policy, we have to understand that, migration or any hunger, if we don't deal with it in a holistic manner, we're not taking the action that we need to do.
That's amazing. And I would love to ask you your final remarks and also your message to the younger generations, not today, but to people, to young activists who would just watch this interview after 5 years, 10 years time. So what would be your message to them?
One important aspect is education. So I am really hoping that we're able to turn the tide and make sure that climate change is part of our curricula at a very young level, because the more that you understand and you live, then you want to protect it. It becomes sort of inherent, and so when we hope that who's seeing us from 10 or 5, 10 or even 15 years, that they are growing in a generation that understands and truly values, and not to undermine, not to get frustrated. In our youth is our hope. So we need for them to remain as optimistic as it needs to be in order to turn the tide and actually have the meaningful change that we need.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I know you have a very busy schedule on the negotiations at COP26, and we are very grateful to host you within this special edition of WHF Talks. Thanks once again.
Thank you so much. Wonderful to be here.